He was a disgusting loser who watched brain-rot TikToks, but one day, everything changes when he gets transported to another world with cheat skills, which make him the strongest mage that ever existed. Taichi was an above-average guy attending high school in Japan who had the IQ of a rice cooker and believed that Jake Paul defeated Mike Tyson fairly. He thought that he was the main character of the story just because he had a childhood friend named Rin with giant milkers. One day, while walking home from school with Rin, a strange magic circle appeared beneath him. Taichi tries to push Rin out of the circle to save her, but she grabs onto this numbskull while they both get transported to an alternate world. When Taichi wakes up and finds himself lying on green plains, he finds Rin laying nearby and wakes up before wondering where they were. They check their phones but realize there's no signal or internet. They look around, confused and wondering what kind of place in the modern age doesn't have a mobile network. Taichi begins to suspect they might not even be on Earth anymore. He explains to Rin that the glowing magic circle they saw earlier wasn't some sort of CGI effect, and all this is definitely real. Rin says it's impossible, but they suddenly hear a roar of a giant monster, like a black horse with sharp horn and glowing red eyes. The horse charges at them again, but Taichi pushes Rin aside and dodges just in time. He shouts at her to run, saying it's better for one of them to survive than for both to die, and then rushes forward to taunt the massive beast to get its attention, before making it chase after him. Just when it seems like Taichi is done for, an air blade attack suddenly hits the monster's neck. A baldy man appears out of nowhere, and compliments Taichi on his taunting skills before charging at the beast with a sword. The monster fights back by spewing flames from its mouth. Suddenly, a black magic-infused arrow flies out of the bushes and hits the beast. After that, an ugly loser walks out of the bush and says, "These obsidian horses are really tough." Finally, a short mage steps up and finishes the monster off with a big flame attack. The group introduces themselves as members of the Adventurers Guild, explaining they were hired to hunt monsters to keep their numbers under control. Watching all this, Taichi finally realizes that they're stuck in some kind of fantasy RPG world, and they will have to find a way to survive here. Later that night, the group sit around a campfire. The adventurers ask Taichi and Rin where they came from and why they're here. Noticing their hesitation to share this information, the adventurers try to ease them up by saying that they won't abandon them in these dangerous plains and offers to escort them to the nearest town, explaining it's part of their job to help others. They also advise them that traveling without weapons is dangerous, especially in this area, as the number of monsters is on the rise. With that, they all call it a night, and Barada tells Taichi to make up with Rin, who seems to be mad at him for telling her to run away without him earlier. They talk about it overnight and ultimately patch up with some off-screen sweaty action. The next morning they arrive at town, and the adventurers give our protagonists some gold coins and tell them about the Adventurers Guild, because Taichi decided to become an adventurer as well, because that's what an alpha male would do. At the guild, when they fill their admission forms, they realize that they can somehow read and understand the language of this world, so there must be some magic involved. The receptionist then explains they need to take a quick magic aptitude test to join the guild. She brings out a crystal ball and asks them to place their hand on it, because having magic is a must to become an adventurer. Hearing this, they both feel disappointed because they think they don't have any magic, and Rin decides to go first and places her hand on the ball. To the receptionist's surprise, the crystal ball glows with 4 different colors when Rin touches it. Shocked, she then asks Taichi to try next. As soon as Teki places his hand on the ball, it suddenly cracks, leaving the receptionist stunned. Without a word, she runs off to inform the guildmaster. A short while later, she comes back with the guildmaster, Gerard, and a well-known adventurer named Mira. They introduce themselves to the pair and tell them that they can't register them here, and that Mira will escort them somewhere where they will get the necessary advice, and without it they can't become adventurers. Taichi asks him if this is some kind of scam where they kidnap them and sell their kidneys, but Mira says that she does want his organ but not his kidney. She then takes them to an old shack near the forest, where they meet this hot mommy with big plots called Lemia. She welcomes them in and learns from Mira that the magic measuring device in the guild broke, so they want her to conduct their test. Lemia gives Teki and Rin some wooden devices and says that she made them and that they would tell their magical capacity. Magical capacity refers to the amount of magical energy one possesses. After stroking her wood with their hands, Teki and Rin ask what it showed, and Lemia says that their numbers are absolutely out of this world, and from now on, they will be her apprentices. Lemia reveals that Teki has a magical capacity of 120,000, while Rin has a magical capacity of 37,000, because she's a woman. She further adds that even a high-class royal mages tend to have a magical capacity of about 10,000. So both of their numbers are insanely high, and they can easily be considered among the strongest beings in this world. Limia also says that she's the strongest mage in this kingdom, and even she has a magical capacity of 43,000, and Mira's capacity are 35,000. She explains that they possess extraordinary power, but without proper training, they risk harming themselves and those around them. That is why she wants them to become her apprentices. Furthermore, she reveals that mastering their power could make them stronger than the S-ranked adventurers and even the most powerful royal mages. Turning to Taichi, she adds that, with the right training, he could single-handedly wage wars against nations, become a king, and if he does that, he can have all the wealth and women in this world while showing him her massive plots. Rin notices Taichi's rocket rising in his pocket and tries to cover his eyes, while Lamia tells Mira that it will be worthwhile training these two. The next morning, Lamia prepares a heavy breakfast and begins teaching the basics of magic. She explains that magic can be used in two ways: casting spells or using sorcery. She also mentions the four basic elements: fire, water, earth, and wind. Most mages can control only one element, but some, like Mira, can use two, and Lamia herself can use three elements, except for earth. She then explains that Rin is even more special, as she can use all four elements, but Taichi's abilities are still unknown, so Lamia plans to focus on his basic training until he discovers his unique magic. She adds that past sorcerers have used light, dark, and time-space magic, and if Teki masters his powers, he could become the strongest mage in the world. After that, they all head to the forest, where Lamia teaches Taichi how to channel magic into his hands for physical enhancement. Taichi works hard to master the technique, and as he practices, he hears a girl's voice wishing him good luck. Confused, he looks around but realizes he's the only one who heard it. At the same time, Mira helps Rin learn the basics of spellcasting. She explains that a clear imagination is essential for casting spells. Rin quickly masters a fire spell and even modifies it to produce blue flames by imagining burning gas. Mira is surprised, as it's the first time she's seen such a flame, and she calls Rin a prodigy. Later in the afternoon, Rin checks on Taichi, who feels quite defeated after doing a lot of hand practice. Wanting to cheer him up, she encourages him to try again. So Taichi focuses his magic into his right hand again, and, to his surprise, he succeeds as his hand begins glowing like a light bulb. After that, they both walk in to have dinner, and Lamia praises them on their progress. She tells Mira to keep taking care of Rin, and advises Taichi to focus on improving his left hand. She urges him to practice until she can master full-body enhancement, explaining that this will be his main fighting style until they discover his attribute. Later that evening, Mira asks Lamia about the two newcomers. Lamia explains that she will train them hard for the next 3 weeks so they can defend themselves in the upcoming war. She had hoped the troubles in the capital wouldn't reach her, but it seems the situation is worsening. A few weeks later, Taichi and Rin take a physical test to measure their progress. Taichi fights a group of fen wolves, while Rin takes on a horde of rabbit monsters. Taichi has learned to control the magical power in his fists, and Rin can now cast basic spells without incantations and use multiple elements at once. Watching from a cliff, Lamia and Mira are amazed at how much stronger they've become in such a short time. Just then, they notice Taichi and Rin facing an obsidian horse. But unlike the last time, they easily defeat the beast and later enjoy it for dinner. That night, they celebrate Taichi and Rin passing their graduation test. Lamia tells them they'll move to town the next day to start their first job as adventurers. She also explains that they are called the Lost Ones, people who come to this world from other realms. She explains that Lost Ones come to this world either by accident or through a sorcerer's space-time magic. Taichi and Rin are shocked and ask how she knew. Lamia says their high magic levels and strange words gave them away, which is why she made them her apprentices, to protect them from being used by others. As for why they were summoned, she says they'd need to ask the sorcerer who did it. However, only a few sorcerers in the kingdom can use space-time magic. And that's the end of the video. If you want to see the next part, comment down below. And also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.